What's up? This is Jack McNeil, or we talk 1, 2, 3 now as the playoffs continue on, and we know that the Tigers are playing either the Giants or the Cardinals. We could know that tonight in the World Series. We're gonna have a very exciting World Series. We see the Yankees get swept. We see the Rangers not even make it to the first round, get beat in the wild card game versus the O's. We see the Baltimore Orioles almost beat the Yankees, and the Yankees have almost an unprecedented finish to their season in a very bad way. So a lot of things are going to be going on this offseason. A-Rod, so much talk this offseason. We'll see what actually happens. But Heath Bell, Chris Young, Cliff Pennington already involved in a 3-team deal that does kind of shock the baseball world. Not necessarily because it's such a big blockbuster, but because of the timing. I think everyone knew that there was a strong possibility that Heath Bell or Ozzie Guillen or both are going to be out of Miami. Miami, a huge city, a new ballpark, a new team, bringing in Jose Reyes, Mark Burley, Heath Bell, Carlos Zambrano, they brought in a lot of new faces. We're expecting a competitive playoff type team, and they were terrible. They were one of the worst teams in baseball. As a baseball fan, it was hard to watch. I'm not even a Miami Marlins fan, but I think I can speak for most or all baseball fans saying you do not want to see a team spend all that money, all that effort, have so much excitement, and then just go so bad so quickly. And Ozzie Guillen still might be out of there. There's a pretty good chance he is. But now I'm hearing that there's a possibility that Ozzie Guillen stays as a manager for the Marlins for the next year at least, partly because Heath Bell is gone. It takes some of the tension away. Now that's a total different issue in itself, so I'm not going to spend time talking about that. But let's get to this 3-team deal and look at the other team's perspective of this. So the Marlins do get rid of Heath Bell. They trade him to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks, not really a team watching, need to worry necessarily for salary amount. They had some money to spend last year, and they chose to spend it not on pitching, but for Jason Kubel, who was one of the best offensive players and still is one of the most underrated players in baseball. I think I would put him and Adam Roach up there for the most underrated players in baseball because Jason Kubel, look at his numbers this year. Absolutely fantastic. And, I was expecting him to do very well, especially in a hitter's ballpark, but I don't think I was expecting him to do that well. I think he surprised a lot of baseball fans and a lot of Diamondbacks fans, and I think they're very happy that they have him obviously going forward. But you look at that outfield, there's 4 guys there. They don't need Chris Young. He's someone that still has a lot of value. 2 years ago was an all-star. In 2010, hit 27 home runs, had over 90 RBIs. This is a guy who hits 20 home runs, 20 steals. Now, his home runs numbers went down 7 home runs in 2011 and 6 in 2012, and he hit 14 home runs last year with just over 40 RBIs. Now, again, he only played in just over 100 games, not even getting 400 plate appearances, but the real numbers to watch there is in 2011 when he, played almost every day, and he had 20 home runs and 70 RBIs. That's kind of the player that you're going to be looking at. Someone who hits around 230. That's consistent. He's never been a high average hitter. He strikes out a lot. But I don't think the Oakland A's necessarily have a problem with that. If he can get to a 20 home run, 70 RBI, and if he gets inspired playing for Oakland and maybe he does a little better, we see guys like Josh Reddick come out of nowhere. And I'm not going to compare him to Chris Young because Josh Reddick was developing, but you never know what can happen in Oakland. I say that because watch what happened this year. It's unprecedented what they did, taking down the Texas Rangers, and really, I can't even believe myself when I say it, and I haven't realized how big of a thing that is for the organization, for the city. You're looking at the team before this year that was trying to get out of the Coliseum, and now gets all of the attendance that they did during the last half of the season and the playoffs. It was a huge lift for this team, and they are able to spend a little more money for that. So fans, keep showing up for the Oakland A's. They're going to get better, and they have a very good young team. You look at those deals that sent Gio Gonzalez to the Diamondbacks. They also dealt with the Diamondbacks earlier this year for Stephen Drew, who they probably will take his option because they also trade Cliff Pennington in the deal to the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks, who traded Stephen Drew, now need a shortstop. Now they get Cliff Pennington. Now, whether he's going to be the starting shortstop or not, I don't think he will be, but he's a very good middle infielder defensively for the Diamondbacks. He'll provide some depth. They're still going to be looking for a shortstop. They're still going to be looking for some left side of the infield help. They're still going to be looking for pitching as always. And they had a very disappointing year when you look at it in a perspective. So the Diamondbacks have a lot of work to do. They're going to have a very busy offseason. The Oakland A's are going to have a busy offseason as well. So pretty much what the A's do here is they get rid of some salary and then they mostly take on salary. I mean, they take on some salary, but I think they're fine doing it. I think they're going to exercise Steven Drews, and that's $10 million. And usually the Oakland A's don't spend $10 million on a player, so you know that they need him. They need a shortstop. They need someone that can fit in their lineup in so many different ways, provide some speed and good defense at shortstop. So looking forward, this team with Cespedes and Smith and Reddick, they have an overpacked outfield, and I think Billy Beane is going to be fine with that. I think that they could trade Coco Crisp, but he was a very important part to this team, and Billy Beane loves him. So I could see him just keeping all 5 of their outfielders and using them DH here if injury happens, because injuries do happen. So Oakland could trade one of the outfielders. They have Seth Smith, they have Cespedes. They're not going to trade Cespedes. They have Coco Crisp is really the main trade candidate, and they could actually get some value for Coco. I think a lot of teams would be interested in him. He's a veteran. He still has a lot of speed. He gets hits when you need him. He hits in that leadoff spot. He did a great job for Oakland, but I could see them keeping all 5 of their outfielders, using some of the DH spot, and really their lineup, if you can fit 4 of them in the lineup every day, it looks pretty good. I mean, you have Steven Drew, Cespedes, Josh Reddick, Seth Smith, Coco Crisp, and now potentially Chris Young. This lineup keeps getting better and better. You're devoting Josh Donaldson now to third base. You're moving guys. You're going to have a competing for second base. So, I mean, you have a very good lineup, but they have a lot of young players. Mostly their pitching is extremely young. Almost all their starters are, rookies. And so it's going to be interesting to see how those players, their sophomore years, how they do, how they react, how they develop, and if this team takes a step back or moves forward and goes back to the playoffs. I hope the best for the Oakland A's moving forward. I think this is a good move for them, and Billy Beane's going to be extremely busy this offseason, I will say that. I think he's inspired by the play, and I think he wants to keep making moves to keep this team competitive and get better and better. Now for the Diamondbacks, you're taking on salary here with the Heath Bell, but you're letting off salary with Chris Young. So it's, and the Marlins are eating up 8 out of the 21 million, so they're eating up about $6.5 million per year. So for the Marlins aspect, they're not only getting Yordy Cabrera, also a shortstop who I got to watch in the Midwest League, a second-round pick, very toolsy, athletic shortstop. So you have a potential there for the Marlins, getting a pretty good prospect in Yordy Cabrera. You're also saving $6.5 million each year, so I think getting that salary is huge for the Marlins. Getting off the books, you get guys like Jacob Turner in there. The Marlins are looking up. There is hope for them. They had a terrible year, but their organization's looking up. Their farm system's getting better. They have some young talent, and they're saving money every deal that they make here. So an overview, this 3-team deal I think does a lot for each team. For the Diamondbacks, they now have a dominant 7, 8, 9. And, obviously Kevin Towers has ties with Heath Bell in San Diego. He's always been a firm believer in bullpen, in relief pitching. That wins games, and it really does. It's an important factor for each team. I think he just takes it more importantly than a lot of other GMs. He really does take it as a #1 priority. And for him, I mean, giving up Chris Young, yeah, he has a lot of talent. He's a young guy. He does strike out a lot, though. And you have an overpacked outfield. And to be able to give up Chris Young and get a guy like Heath Bell, I think Heath Bell will be an all-star again in his career. It's a bold prediction, but I think he will do it. He's going to be setting up for J.J. Putz, and I think he'll be fine with it at first. He might take J.J. Putz's closer job because he has struggled in the past to keep that closer job. And now the Marlins have some flexibility. You have David Hernandez, you have Heath Bell, you have J.J. Putz, you have a dominant bullpen if they do well, and you have a very good offense moving forward. So I think this is a good deal for the Diamondbacks. And then I also think it is a very good deal for the Oakland A's. You're getting a guy like Chris Young, who has been an all-star, can hit home runs, has speed, has power. And yes, you have a very overpacked outfield, but now you have the option of trading Seth Smith. You have an option of trading Coco Crisp. And, I mean, if you want to be radical and you don't think Josh Reddick is going to have the year that he had last year, you could trade him and maximize his value. But you never know what Billy Beane is going to do. You do have to give up Yordy Cabrera, who in the long term I don't think is going to affect the Oakland A's. But he's a pretty nice prospect to have, an extra shortstop prospect there, second-round pick. So, the Marlins, it's a win-win situation. You're getting money off the books. You have to pay 8 of the 21 million. You get him out of there. A lot better clubhouse, I think. The tension is gone in the clubhouse. And we'll see what happens with Ozzie Guillen. But overall, a very good deal for both teams. I think the Oakland A's come out the big winners. And possibly the Diamondbacks. I think Bell will have an all-star year in 2013. So again, the A's get Chris Young to add to their outfielders and lineup depth and speed and power. The list goes on and on. The Marlins get Yordy Cabrera and cash and the Diamondbacks get Heath and middle infielder Cliff Pennington. I think the Diamondbacks, my prediction is the Diamondbacks are the clear winner of this and will come out the winner of this by the end of next year. We'll rule on that, but I think Heath Bell will be an all-star again. I think Cliff Pennington will be an important part of this team going forward and add some middle infield depth. I think really there's no losers in this trade. The Marlins also get some clear salary advantage. So again, thank you for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Comment below, and thanks.